Hello everyone, welcome to the video. We are going to dive into Colonial the board game and show you an example of a turn. We have prepared a simple setup for 2 players. We have France and we have Great Britain. Let us take a look at the regions in play today. These are the theatres of operations in this example game. We have the following colonies: in the Caribbean, Jamaica, Martinique, and Aruba. In North America, we have Boston, Montreal, and San Antonio. Over in Africa, we have São Tomé, Kapstad, which is Cape Town in South Africa, and Fort Amsterdam. In Asia, we have Batavia, Manila, and Calcutta. Just note, these 2 theatres, Africa and Asia. We will not pay them much attention in this video, as we are trying to simulate the gameplay of 1 turn by France, so we are going to focus on North America and the Caribbean for this example. Let's have a look at the board. Up here we have our commodities area. Some of the commodities in offer today are amber, cocoa, cotton, fish, ivory, silk, etc. Next to this is the political board. Here we have 9 politicians, but 2 of them, King George of Britain and King Louis of France, are covered up by the declared war cards. These are the 2 factions in play, so the politicians for these 2 countries, England and France, are unavailable this game. Next to this, we have the political cards that are provided by the politicians themselves if you win their favour. For example, the Empress of the Holy Roman Empire, Maria Theresa, gives you the Austrian expedition, so here is this army. Below this are the colony cards, the secret objectives, the coins, and the card market. This card market is for obtaining tactic cards. We have 4 revealed cards and the deck here. This meeple shows the current round, so in this example we will show France's turn in the 2nd round. This big ship represents the high seas. In the standard setup, it is shown using a tarot card, but here using the game mat, you do not need to use the tarot card. Next to our player board, we have our battle deck. These are the cards that make up our units and buildings, which we can move into play. More on that later. Here are the dice, and we also have 1 secret objective. The secret objective we have chosen is the Spice Trader, so if we have more spice commodity cards than any other player at the end of the game, then we will be awarded an extra victory point. Looking at the French player board, in our warehouse we have the following commodities: cocoa, timber, sugar and spices. We start each turn with 3 gold in the treasury. Nobody is currently in the prison, and there are no cards in the support box as of yet. The country tokens are used to mark the position of the colonies that France owns. So what is the current state of affairs for each country? Well, let's take a look. The French situation is a little bit better than the British one, but the British will obviously have their own opportunities and interests. So in Boston, there is a British fortress, while in Montreal, there is a French leader, and he has siege artillery. The main goal in this turn for the French would be to take the British fortress and to take Boston. Let's have a look at the situation in the Caribbean. So here the French have a plantation here in Martinique, and also a colonial militia. If you look, you will see the colonial militia has a -1 modifier for dice rolls, so it's quite a bad performance unit, so good to bear that in mind. The British in Jamaica have a leader, George Anson, who is a strong card. At the beginning of the round, we have these 5 cards left in our hand, so let's just draw these now to show what we would have had in our hand at the start of the turn. So that is the initial information on the layout of the game and so forth. Let's play France's turn. The turn consists of 8 steps. 1. Draw a tactic card from the deck. 2. Actions in colonies. 3. The political objective roll. 4. Purchases. 5. Movement of units. 6. Battles. 7. Support. And 8. Collect income. Let's go through these actions now. Here we go. The first action is to draw a tactic card from the deck. This goes into your hand. The second action is to perform actions in colonies. Most colonies have an ability. Some of them are triggered if you have a leader in your colony. If you do have a leader in one of your colonies, you may roll a dice and then obtain the benefit if you reach the value. Some colonies have a permanent benefit, such as San Antonio, which boosts your native allies and prevents the entry of naval units there. San Antonio is an inland colony. If we look at George Anson in Jamaica, this colony has an ability that is triggered by a leader. So on the English turn, if they still own this colony, they can roll a dice, and if they get 4 or more, they can choose an opponent who loses 1 gold. In this case, there are no actions to take in colonies, because no French colonies have the leader ability. The next step of the round is try to gain favor from politicians here on the political board. For the French, the most interesting politician at this very moment is Thayendanegea, the Mohawk chief, because it boosts our units in North America by giving us +1 on our dice rolls in that region. So to win his favor, we need to roll 4 or more. To help us try to achieve this value, we can play a tactic card if we are able to. In this case, we play the Splendor of Versailles, which gives us a +3 modifier to political rolls. We got a 2, so 2 + 3 makes 5, so we have achieved the result, and now gain the support of this politician. So in this case, it was a good decision to use this tactic card. Now we have the favor of this politician, we add one of our country tokens to it. The next step in the turn is the purchases step. Here we purchase the units and the buildings from our battle deck. France's position in Montreal is currently strong. The place we should reinforce at this stage is Martinique, because we expect an attack from the British forces in Jamaica. Let's open up the battle deck. We have 3 gold, so we may spend up to 3. We have several cards to choose from: leaders, generals, line infantry, Hessians, etc. Let's purchase this leader, Bertrand Mahe. When we buy them, we must always put them in the support box. Let's also get an African native allies. And finally, let's spend our last coin and purchase a fortress. You have placed your reinforcements in the support box, but they are not in play yet. You have to think strategically about what you wish to bring into play later on, in the support phase. Just to note, in the purchase step, you can also buy tactic cards from the market or directly from the tactic deck. So here you need to pay 1, 2, 3 or 4 gold to buy any of these. Alternatively here, you may take a blind tactic card at the cost of 1 gold. Next, it is the movement step. This is one of the most important stages of the game. This is where you will move your units that are already in play. You can move every unit you have on the table. You cannot, however, move buildings you have placed already. You can move a unit 1 space, unless an ability says otherwise. Let's invade Boston from Montreal. The French units move in. You can move 1 space, so they could either move to Boston or to San Antonio, or to the high seas if you want. Here, there will be a battle in the battle phase. Down in the Caribbean, we have a colonial militia and a plantation. So as mentioned previously, the colonial militia is quite a weak card, and it will be difficult to beat George Anson. However, if we achieve it, our colony in Martinique will be a safer position. There will be a battle here too. We have finished the French movements, so let's proceed to the battle step. First, in Boston, the French have a leader, Pierre de Vaudreuil, and a siege artillery. The British have a fortress. All the battle cards that show a dice icon are able to roll in battles. So here the British will roll a dice for the fortress with a +2 modifier. The French leader will not get the modifier for the native allies, as there are no native allies cards in this battle. But they do have siege artillery, and this artillery gives a -3 modifier to the fortress. So let's see what happens when we roll the dice. Well, the French got a 2 and the British got a 1. The British roll plus the fortress modifier equals 3. Due to the siege artillery ability, this means the fortress is now worth 0, so it is destroyed and removed from the game. The British have lost the colony, so their country token is removed and replaced with a French country token. Now in the next battle over in Jamaica, the British have George Anson and the French have the Colonial militia. Let's see what happens here then. A good roll for the militia, but George Anson gets a 4 and he has a +1 modifier, so it is a 5. The Colonial militia has a -1 modifier, as they are poorly trained units, so 3 - 1 is 2, and they are defeated and removed from the game. The British retain control of Jamaica. One thing to remember is after each battle, if control of a colony changes, then you take the commodities. Boston produced fish, so now because France now control Boston, then the fish is transferred from the British warehouse to the French warehouse. After the battles, we proceed to the reinforcement step called support. So now we may place any number of the units in the support box into the play area. Let's reinforce Martinique with a fortress. The leader, Bertrand Mahe, let's place on the high seas. Then he can move somewhere next turn, to Asia for example. The African native allies have a unique ability which allows them to move to an uncontrolled colony, but it must be in Africa. Now France has units in Fort Amsterdam in Africa. They now have a colony there, so we must place a country token there. The native allies have taken the colony, so we need to obtain the commodities that Fort Amsterdam provides. This region provides gold and silver. As this colony was not taken from the British, then we don't take gold and silver from the British warehouse. Instead, we take it from the commodity area and then place it in the French warehouse. So as placed earlier, the leader, Bertrand Mahe, is on the high seas, which means next round, in the movement step, he can go to any colony, as the high seas is considered adjacent to all colonies in the game. And finally, the last step of this turn for the French is the income step. As standard, you get 3 gold in this step, but you also get an extra gold for each set of 3 different commodities in your warehouse. So in this case, we have 2 sets, cocoa, timber and sugar as 1 set, and spices, fish and gold and silver as a second set. This means we take 5 gold, 3 gold as default, plus 2 additional gold for our sets. Here, the French turn ends, and it is now the British player's turn. If, for example, the game ends now because we have just finished the 5th and final round, the French player is fulfilling their secret objective, because they have more spices than any other player. So this is a brief overview of one turn by the French player in the game. Just to summarize, you draw 1 tactic card. You have to perform actions in colonies if you have a leader there. Then you roll a political objective and try to bring that politician to your side. Next is the purchases step, where you can purchase units and buildings from your battle deck, or buy tactic cards from the market, or blind from the tactic deck. Then you perform movements of units already in play, resolve battles. Then you may reinforce your colonies from cards previously placed in the support box. Finally, you collect income for the turn, and it is then the next player's turn doing these same actions in this same order. I hope this brief explanation gives you an overview of this game. Thank you very much for watching and thank you for your support. The following video has been remuxed into a more concise version from a longer, looser original video sent to GameFound backers.